gather round.
Hi, my name is Taylor Gather, and I host the Gather Round podcast, where I sit down and talk with guests to hear about their life stories and experiences. Today, I spoke with Sam Poe. He's a junior who transferred from the University of Arkansas to Pepperdine his sophomore year. Mere days before packing up his life and moving to California, he studied abroad in an intensive Arabic program in Morocco for 5 months. Here is his story and how music was an integral part of that experience in his life today. Hey, Sam, thanks for meeting with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So obviously we've talked a lot about how music has played an important part of your life and everything. And it's funny because we were talking about how your dad was a pastor in the Church of Christ growing up, but the Church of Christ is known for being non-instrumental. So where did your love for guitar and piano and music in general come from?
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. Despite the fact that he was a minister, he was a bass player, and he played a lot of funk and he played a lot of rock on the bass. So growing up, we listened to a lot of Prince and Red Hot Chili Peppers. So music was always around me, and because of that, I picked up guitar, and then my mom tried to get me to play piano. So I pretty much had music around me my entire life, just growing up.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
And then has music always been a consistent part of your life?
More or less, yeah. There were times where I didn't play music as much. In high school, I played guitar a little more than I did piano. But then I took a break freshman year of college, and then I started playing later after a good friend of mine taught me a few songs just to kind of get me started. But it was really in Morocco that I think my love for music kind of was sparked again, and I really just wanted to take it further and learn more.
Well, tell me more about why there was kind of a sudden lull in your music and why this friend, I don't know who he or she is, but why they sparked that interest again.
A friend in Morocco.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it was just busyness and priority that I just kind of lost touch with that hobby and that side of myself. And I wasn't really focused on that at that point in my life, but it was definitely something that was missing. And then I got to Morocco, and I had a good friend out there that was a local. That was actually he was an employee of the intensive program that I was studying with, and he was a professional guitarist. And he said, one day he was like, "Here, I have this spot." He called it the spot, and it was this riad that was a riad's kind of like it's hard to describe. It's like a living room, but it has an open roof, so you could see to the sky. So it's like being in like a one big sky room. But he took me to this spot, and it was buried in the middle of like the old city in Meknes, Morocco. So it was something out of a storybook.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go there and we would just play music all the time, and there would be drums, there would be guitars there ready to go, and we would just, 2, 3 nights a week, him and I would go there and play music, and then more people came. And then very quickly, I started learning more songs from him because he knew pretty much every John Mayer song there was. He played John Mayer, he played Tom Misch, and so he really sparked that inside me. He always wanted me to sing with him. He always was trying to get me to learn new riffs and new songs, and then it kind of became a regular thing. And pretty much almost every Friday night that I was there, that I would go play like a little set and for a small crowd in that little riad, and it would be like 15 to 20 people. But I've never been a big fan of performing, so it was a big step for me. But it was a lot of fun that I'd either have just by myself or a small band playing, drums or other guitars with me. But yeah, that's really what got me going again. Kind of inspired me to look at music in a new way.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's pretty intimidating traveling to another country where you don't know the people and you're just getting to know the culture. And it sounds like you really relied on music there. And it was a way that you were able to connect with people that, as I said, were from a different culture. So, can you tell me more about how you use music to connect with people?
hmm Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you're thrown into a new environment and you're thrown into a place where you're not, comfortable, and you have to, readjust how you think about things and understand life, you kind of go back to the core of who you are. So I went back to music, and I went back to wanting to play guitar and express myself through that. But then when I was able to connect with not just my friend Osama was his name, but with more of his friends and more people that I jammed with in that riad. I mean, it was interesting because we all either listened to the same music or we would teach each other new songs. But I mean, some of the guys I played with one night and then would never see them again. But we would play like hour-long concerts together, and just have a great time. But I mean, it just shows you like it's such a common thing that really brings people together. It doesn't matter what your language, religion, ethnicity, race is. I mean, you're always gonna have that one thing that brings you together.
Well, you mentioned that you're not much of a performer or very open about your music abilities. So, what made you want to pick up the guitar or go to that piano when you first arrived?
I think it was one, wanting to find that comfort in music. Especially whenever you're trying to adapt. Like I said, it was finding that comfortability in music and finding that appreciation in things that reminded me of home. But then it was almost like I associated home with where I was, and that was home for me. And it was that music did that for me. And I think it was, Osama and his friends that really encouraged me, because I was with them. That I don't think I would have performed on my own ever if I hadn't performed with them, because it was definitely a community thing and everyone was very included. And sometimes people would walk in that riad and just immediately start dancing or pick up a bongo that was in the corner. I mean, it was so inclusive, and so it was just that community aspect of music that really that inspired me to want to sing out a little bit more.
Do you have any specific experiences that really resonate with you and like really reinforce the idea that music brings home and connects people?
Yeah, I mean, just overall that experience. There were, granted, like I said, I wasn't really a big performer, and then just to kind of make that switch while I was there, and I still bring those songs home, and I still play guitar all the time. I know the songs that they taught me, and that's just a big part of my life now. So I think the whole thing, um, even though it's not a specific experience, I think the whole thing is one of those experiences that really resonates with me,
Mm-hmm.
and has just gone with me everywhere I've went since then.
And then before we started recording, you mentioned that you had a story behind the guitar you used in Morocco. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So Usama was letting me borrow one of his guitars. He had a really really nice Yamaha acoustic, but I didn't want to borrow it from him all the time because he lived on the other side of the city, and there were some times that uh, he couldn't make it to the Riyadh with me because he had work. So I was like, I want to get my own guitar and I want to be able to practice stuff like outside of just going to the Riyadh. So me and my host brother ended up walking around the old city markets like an entire day. Took so long to find some place that was having a guitar. And then finally, like, close to sundown, we made it to this music shop, and there was this kind of, a little bit smaller, just classical guitar, and it's pretty cheaply made. It was all black, and I think it costs probably 25 US dollars. So I bought that, and then I played it constantly the whole time I was there, and my name is carved into the side of it. But I didn't bring it home. I remember that at the end of the trip, I was like, I've used this guitar well, and I actually did some backpacking after this study abroad trip, so I couldn't bring a guitar with me everywhere I was going. But I decided, I've used this guitar well, and I had a friend named Eunice, and he worked in a lot of nonprofit agencies, and there was a school that he worked at that they did like arts and music stuff, and so I said, hey, I want you to give this guitar to them because it's still in really really good shape. So yeah, it's somewhere at a school right now. I'm sure it's not being used because of COVID, but I'm sure that once things go back to normal, that someone else will be able to use that guitar, and maybe they'll carve their name into it too.
At least you were able to leave a piece of you in Morocco, even though you had to come home.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope that it goes to good use.
You mentioned that you went backpacking after your trip in Morocco, and obviously you couldn't bring your guitar. So, how did you stay connected to music? Because it was such an integral part of your time abroad and your time away from the States.
That's actually a pretty interesting story. There was when I was backpacking, I found myself in Rome, and I was with some guys that I met from South America because we were all staying at a hostel together, and I told them that I play guitar, and they were some pretty excitable guys, so they were like, we have to find a music store. So we walked like to the other side of Rome to go to this music store that we saw on Google Maps, and I just sat in the music store and talked to the owner for a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
just played guitar, probably for 10-15 minutes, just to get it out of my system. But I think that was the most I had while I was backpacking for that month afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, after that 5 months, you had to come home, but it wasn't to Arkansas, it was to California. And that's a big transition in itself, not only adjusting back to the culture in the United States, but to California culture in a way. So I assume that you brought your love for music and your connectivity of music to Pepperdine. How did you do that?
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting then too, because I didn't have room on the plane to bring my guitar whenever I moved out here for the first time in spring. So I was without it for a while, but I remember going and playing piano in the sandbar a couple times, and then there was a guy in my dorm that I found out had a bass guitar and an electric guitar, and so I just texted him at random one day, and I was like, hey, I didn't really know him, but I was like, hey, oh, shout out Nolan, but I was like, hey, do you just want to jam for a little bit? And he was like, definitely. So I mean, we never really hung out before then, but we just played guitar for a couple hours. So I was definitely cut off from it for those few weeks that I was there in spring
Mm-hmm.
2020. But I found a way, and I still had that with me.
Well, not too cut off from it, because sometimes you'd come to my room and take my guitar and
Yeah,
just play for
yeah,
hours on
yeah.
end.
I do remember I did borrow your guitar quite a bit. So
Yeah, it's okay. I enjoyed it. And then obviously, you when you finally felt you were in the groove of getting adjusted to Pepperdine and making friends, the pandemic hit, and that's been hard for everyone. Obviously, it's hard to just be in quarantine in an unprecedented future that we really don't know and still don't know. How is music essential or stayed kind of you kept you grounded throughout this whole time?
yeah, I think like a lot of people in quarantine, they had time to learn new things and practice new things, and I definitely took that time to learn a lot on the guitar, um, and find my sound sometimes, especially whenever I was singing, and find what kind of musician I wanted to be and what that would sound like, and kind of telling my story in an emotional way through what I
Mm-hmm.
sing. But it definitely connected me back to those memories, and it was a little bit melancholy sometimes,
Mm.
but I think overall it definitely kept me grounded, kept me rooted in that experience that I had, and I never really let that go.
How has your music transformed or changed throughout since playing before Morocco and in Morocco and now, if it has at all?
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed. I think, throughout high school, my goal was really to learn other people's songs. I wanted to learn a lot of songs by like Lord Huron and some, indie bands, and then I would try to learn like some Foo Fighters stuff. But I think, I don't really write my own stuff that much.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't consider myself a writer, but I definitely think that, since then my sound has become a little bit more, my own, the way I want to sing, and it, tells a story, even if I'm singing other songs. But also just, having fun, especially if I'm just, on an electric and freestyling a little bit to just have some fun with it. So, yeah.
So you were a pretty prominent performer in Morocco. Are we going to see that here in the States now?
Yeah, I can play you one of the songs I played quite a bit over there. It was one of the normal songs I played in my set list.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Dream Girl by a band called Susto. The band is from South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of theirs.
Do you think you're going to create your own music? I know you mentioned you're not really a writer, but you're clearly talented and you can just pick it up songs like that.
I don't really think so. I've never really felt like doing that. I've been asked that before, but I really see it as kind of a hobby. I really kind of do it, either for myself, selfishly, or for the people listening. But I always just kind of like to learn other people's songs, and like to express myself through that. But yeah, I never really consider myself a writer, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of keep it as a hobby for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what do you think, or what are your hopes for your music career or just music in general in the future?
I hope I'd never stop playing. Truly, I hope that I take that for as long as I'm alive. I hope that you know, in the future that I keep that up, and if I have any kids, that I pass it on to them as well. But music was a big part of my family's life, and so I think I want it to be a big part of mine as well. So I just hope that I never stop playing and always find a way to connect with people, no matter where I am in the world,
Mm-hmm.
especially through music. I think it's a very powerful connection.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you want to tell our readers? I
Uh,
mean, our listeners?
um, no matter what your creative hobby is, no matter what you're really interested in, there are other people out there interested in it too, all over the world, and you can connect with people in ways that you did not expect, and really expand that. So definitely just keep doing your thing. If you like music, keep playing, um, and go see the world.
I would like to thank everyone out there for listening to our first ever podcast for the Gather Round podcast. Now here is Sam Poe's cover of Dream Girl by Susto.
Lately I've been having the strangest dreams, being held in the arms by a naked woman. When I don't know her, even if she knows me. And when I look up to see her, I see something gruesome. She's gonna eat me alive, with my skin on her teeth and my blood on her blue eyes. And I don't know why I can't find a lover, one that I like or one that really feels like home. Say goodbye to my daddy and my mother, to all my friends and my 3 baby brothers. I'm gone, I can't stay here no more, I can't stay here no more. Lord, I can't stay here no more. When I wake, I see her in the streets. She's not the one that I want, she's the one that wants me. And I get so scared because I see her all the time, with the long black hair and those bloody blue eyes. She's gonna eat me alive. She's gonna spit out my skin, gonna spit out my blue eyes. And I don't know why I can't find a lover, one that I like or one that really feels like home. I say goodbye to my daddy and my mother, to all my friends and my 3 baby brothers. I'm gone, I can't stay here no more, I can't stay here no more. Where you from? Where you from? Where you from, my love? Where you from? Where you from? Where you gone to, my love? And I don't know why I can't find a lover, one that I like or one that really feels like home. I say goodbye to my daddy and my mother, to all my friends and my 3 baby brothers. I'm gone, I can't stay here no more, I can't stay here no more. I can't stay here no more, I can't stay here no more. See, I didn't need the beep track.